friends from the north side of Chicago have made their way to the Gateway City. Well over 40,000 packed in tonight at Busch Stadium. The Cardinals and Cubs in a weekend set at Busch. With Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Delighted to have you with us. We'll see a debut tonight of Edwin Jackson wearing the St. Louis uniform.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch him pitch, Dan. He is a guy that has been a middle-of-the-rotation guy, about a 500 pitcher in his career. Came to the big leagues really young, but has exceptional talent. Good fastball, good curveball. Maybe Dave Duncan will take him to the next level.
And the Cardinals now have to bounce back after, I'd have to say, it's a disappointing series, 2-2 against Houston.
No doubt. You want to take 3 out of 4 at least against the Astros. That club was down. But the Cardinals did have a bright spot in their bullpen, a couple of good performances from their new relievers. So we'll see if they can carry that over against the Cubs. And it's always a great series when the Cubs are in town.
All right, looking forward to this one. It's Game 1, Chicago and St. Louis. We'll take a look at some of the newcomers, what they did in that series against Houston. When we come back, the home of the Cardinals, Fox Sports Midwest.
RBI base hit in his first plate appearance as a Cardinal. It drove in a run. Mark Zepchinski also had 2 solid innings out of the Cardinals bullpen. Not only the sharp breaking ball against the left, he also got out right-handed batters and struck out 4. Octavio Dotel, the veteran right-hander, also had a scoreless inning here last night. And it's Edwin Jackson's turn here tonight. He'll get the start, his first as a Cardinal. More from Busch Stadium after this.
At third for the St. Louis Cardinals, 2 hits shy of 2,000 for his career. Wouldn't be surprising if we saw him get it tonight.
Well, he was outstanding when these two teams faced off in early June. 4 home runs in the series. The Cardinals swept the Cubs, 2-game winners. Saturday, it was off of Jeff Samardzija. And the Sunday finale was Rodrigo Lopez. 4 home runs, 6 hits in the series for Albert. Magical moments for the Redbirds.
Pujols and the Cardinals getting set tonight. The hot evening here in the Gateway City. A look at the Astros series when we come back.
Cardinal killer. The Cardinals started off this homestand against the Houston Astros, winning the first 2, but disappointing that they weren't able to finish off the job. Dan McLaughlin has a recap of the Astros series.
The Cardinals return to Busch Stadium to begin a homestand against the 2 worst teams in the National League Central. Kyle McClellan picked up his first win since May 19th, and Colby Rasmus delivered his 2nd home run in as many games. Carlos Lee made it interesting in the 8th, but in the end, the homestand was off to a solid start. It didn't take long for the Cardinals to continue their hot hitting, thanks to Albert Pujols' 23rd home run of the season. The 2-run shot by Albert was all St. Louis would need. Jake Westbrook, who had been struggling at home, kept Houston in check all night long, pitching 6 effective innings of 1-run baseball. For good measure, David Freese hit his 5th home run of the season in the 6th, and Fernando Salas picked up save number 19. Halfway through the 4-game set with Houston, it's been all St. Louis. After 2 straight losses to St. Louis, the Astros struck first in Game 3. A 2-run homer by Clint Farmas put Chris Carpenter in the hole early. The legend of Bud Norris continued as he allowed just 1 run in 6 innings of work. Houston's offense was quiet until the 9th, when Jose Altuve and the Astros broke through. It even caught a break behind the backstop. In the 9th, the Cardinals had one last chance and had the right guy at the plate, but a swing and a miss by Albert gave the Astros the 4-2 win. For the first time in 10 home starts this year, Jaime Garcia had a bad night, allowing 4 earned runs in 6 innings, including Carlos Lee's 2nd home run of the series. Corey Patterson had a nice Cardinals debut, doubling in a run in the 2nd inning. And Albert Pujols went 2 for 4 with 2 doubles. But the Cardinals not only suffered several injuries throughout the game, they suffered a series split with the last place Houston Astros. Cardinals 2-2 on the homestand so far, with 3 to go against the rival Chicago Cubs this weekend. by Chevy. See your Mid-America Chevy dealers. By Southwest Airlines, new Rapid Rewards, unlimited reward seats and no blackout dates. By Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, #1 in quality tires and expert auto service. And by Steak and Shake, life needs flavor. Busch Stadium in St. Louis, a packed house. The Cubs, the Cardinals, game 1 of a weekend set here at Busch Stadium. And the fans with their Hall of Fame jerseys and shirts, T-shirts on. Waddy Herzog will be here tomorrow. And the Wizard, and mixed in that group, a Hall of Famer for the truck. That's why he makes it, Tom Pagnozzi. You knew that was coming. You knew that was coming. Here's Edwin Jackson, and he'll get the start for St. Louis tonight.
Yeah, looking forward to watching Jackson. First appearance as a Cardinal.
And here's the lineup for the Chicago Cubs. Castro, Barney, Ramirez, then Pena, Bird, Soto, Soriano, Colvin, and Garza. How about the scout report on the right-hander for St. +?
Plus fastball. It has probably the third or fourth highest average in terms of fastball in the National League. A 95 plus. Good breaking ball as well. Really needs a plan. All the people around baseball talk about him having the great stuff, Dan, but not really having a good plan of attack, and perhaps Dave Duncan can fix that.
He's a guy that hasn't gone deep into a lot of games, too. And in talking with some scouts today, Rick, before our first pitch here, they said he became, at times, slider happy. And you saw him throw an awful lot of sliders, where in Dave Duncan's system, it's more of, let's pound the strike zone if you have a good fastball. And Dave was saying before the game as well, when you throw as hard as Edwin Jackson and you miss location, you can still get away with it with the kind of velocity that he has. Patterson, also one of the new faces in the lineup tonight for the Cardinals, a former Cub, and he's in right. Edwin Jackson, career highlight, no doubt, while pitching with Arizona. No-hitter.
149 pitches in that game. Notice the 8 walks and 6 strikeouts. And that was just a month from Matt Garza throwing a no-hitter. Same season. Both pitchers here tonight. 149 pitches. That's a big day's work.
Yes, it is. Here's Starlin Castro, young shortstop for the Cubs. He's had a solid year. 303 average, 3 home runs. He's driven in 44. He's hit .370 against the Cardinals this year. It's a manager's nightmare to have that many pitches, 149, but know that history is on the line. You're saying, well, I want to get him out, but I've got to let him finish this out.
I watched the end of that game, and he wasn't really laboring. He still seemed to be pretty solid and strong throughout. So that's, I would say, a plus in his favor. He's still just 27 years of age, so he's young. 5 years of full seasons of big league experience. So, you know, he's really had to learn the ropes at a young age, but I think he has the kind of durability where he may not be going deep, Dan, but he's making every start.
How about the fact that Jackson, you know, he's got some butterflies here tonight. He talked about that, but he gets to work with Yadier Molina and how that could play into this game tonight.
We talked about working with Duncan, but you also get to work with Molina, and that's like having another pitching coach.
3 balls and 1 strike on Starlin Castro. Just underway here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. And a base hit out to left for Castro. Let's meet the defense of the Cardinals tonight. Holiday, Jay, and Patterson is in right field. Freeze, Descalso, Schumacher, and Pujols along the infield, and the battery is Edwin Jackson and Yadier Molina. Darwin Barney is hitting .293. Second baseman with 1 home run and 34 RBIs. Kosuke Fukudome 2 days ago traded away to Cleveland for prospects. Jim Henry and John Mozeliak expect to be busy this weekend up until the trade deadline.
Cubs don't run a lot. Cubs and the Cardinals tied for last in the National League in stolen bases. You really wouldn't expect them to run much against Yadier Molina. There's John Mozeliak. Every once in a while you have to stop from your busy negotiation and have a meal.
Edwin Jackson would love the double play here. That's it out of play. Nothing in 2. Trade deadline just about here, and Bill DeWitt is in the ballpark. A lot of times it comes down to those last-minute decisions on trades, and really it comes down to an owner saying, yeah, we'll add some salary, let's do it. Would you agree?
No doubt. He's ultimately the one to give his blessing on a major deal, and you don't want to be very far away from him. In this case, he's about 4 feet away from him.
Here's a ground ball foul. That ground ball right there is a good example since the concert of what this field has been playing like.
Quicker.
Way quicker than it once was.
We see it in the outfield too.
I was talking with some of the players today down on the field. They said it's like night and day, and also right in front of the plate. That dirt is hard, and we've seen also in that series against Houston where some of those choppers made it over the head of David Freese when he was playing in. 0-2 pitch on its way. Get out of play.
And that's a great contrast to what we used to see in Wrigley Field back in the day. They would have the grass. I mean, it would seem like a jungle almost in the infield. They made it so slow. They wanted the ball not to get through the infield. They have their infielders did not necessarily have great range. A lot of them didn't. Ryan Sandberg, Hall of Famer, but I wouldn't say that he had a lot of range, and that infield certainly helped him out. And they only wanted to hit fly balls and long ones at that. That was the way they played and the way they scored, so they took away the ground ball base hit. Cardinals used to complain about that all the time.
Sure.
In Wrigley.
Here's an 0-2 lifted into left center field. John Jay makes the catch, and that's the first out in the ball game.
Changeup, not a very good location. He gets away with it. Fastball, curveball, changeup from Jackson. Again, 95 plus fastball.
Edwin Jackson yesterday asked about this rivalry, Cubs Cardinals. He says, what do you know about it? And the answer was
nothing.
Nothing.
He was honest.
He said, I saw the Cubs when I was with the White Sox and followed them a little bit, but I don't know anything about this rivalry. 1 out, runner at first.
He's getting ready to learn. And it's a good rivalry. I mean, it is true that when you come here, you don't fully grasp it until you're actually on the field and you're at the ballpark and you see the great number of Cub fans that make their way down from the north side of Chicago, and just how, I would say, how pleasant the rivalry is, but certainly passionate.
Here's the 0-1 to Aramis Ramirez. A lot of talk that Ramirez might be willing to waive his no trade clause, and a team that has shown interest in him, Anaheim.
A lot of teams are interested because he has been red hot over the last month. 14 home runs over the last month. Leads the National League in that department. He's always been an RBI guy, and he's always hit the Cardinals well.
1 out, runner at first following the single by Castro. Ramirez waves at it. First strikeout for Edwin Jackson.
That on a breaking ball. Molina sets up outside. And the slider is waved at by Ramirez. That's not a good swing. Did not pick up that ball very well at all.
Now Carlos Pena on the season hitting .223. 20 home runs. Most in this lineup tonight, and 51 RBIs. back when you were playing, Rick, the big rivalry outside of Chicago, undoubtedly the New York Mets with the Cardinals. Were rivalries talked about inside those clubhouses as much as it's talked about, and really it's a fun aspect for the fans?
I think there's a difference between the fan rivalry and the player rivalry. I think the player rivalry often happens because of the competition on the field, who's in first, who's in second, and maybe a particular incident or two. And Cardinals and Mets became a rivalry because they were always 1-2 in the division in the mid-'80s. And so you just knew that was the team you had to beat, and it brought up a lot of emotions, even though the fans may have had the Cubs more of a rivalry, but I think the players clearly, let's just say we didn't like the Mets very much.
Neither did the fans.
Trying to be nice about that.
0-2 the count here on Pena.
Hit some great moments, though.
Unbelievable games. You always think about the Terry Pendleton home run at Shea Stadium, September. Dramatic home run. You think about Strawberry knocking one off the clock. You think about Tommy Herr and some of the great home runs he had against the Mets.
But in some ways, there's a segment of Cardinal fandom that love the Cardinal Cub stories. Ryan Sandberg, 7 RBIs. Willie McGee hitting for a cycle in a game of the week. Or Bruce Sutter gives up 2 home runs in extra innings. Maybe the best game I've ever seen. And of course, Musial getting his 3,000th hit against the Cubs.
Last 7 games, hitting 136 for Pena.
Pena is basically Mr. All or Nothing, isn't he?
Seems to be that way, and it was that way with Tampa Bay. 1-2 pitch is hit out of play. Some really good years too with the Rays, but here's some of the accomplishments that we talked about. The right side of history, milestones against the Cubs. Musial 3,000th hit. Brock 3,000th hit. Big Mac his 62nd home run in '98. Albert Pujols 4th of July in 2008, 300th home run, and looks like he'll get hit number 2,000 at some point this weekend against Chicago.
That moment with Mark McGwire, I'll never forget that. Experiencing it as a fan at the ballpark with my family, just amazing. The feeling being at the ballpark, just the love of the game and all the things that were around that, and tarnished a bit later, but you know what? It's still a great memory for me.
With our ceremonial first pitch tonight. How did he do? Let's take a look. Keep on coming.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. Chuck Berry on it before the game tonight. St. Louis legend. As we move to the bottom of the first here at Busch Stadium, this is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Patterson, Jay, and Pujols, Holiday, Freeze, and Schumacher, Molina, Descalso, and Edwin Jackson. Matt Garza, the former Ray, 4-7. A look at his scouting report.
Top fastball in the National League in terms of miles per hour. He's been using his curveball a lot of late. Actually had a good month, but he can't get a victory. He makes some mistakes on the mound, does not field his position very well, does not swing the bat very well. So not, I guess, a complete player in that regard, but certainly has good numbers in the month of July. Danny's 0-1 with a 2.81 ERA in his 5 outings. He's just getting no help whatsoever.
A band member of Chuck Berry's told me that he refuses to go on the stage and perform until the baseball game is over. Once the Cardinal game hits its 3rd out, he says, yep, I'm ready to go. But he does not miss a pitch.
Good for him.
Huge Cardinal fan.
One of my favorite moments during the All-Star weekend was, actually one of my favorite moments ever was having Nelly and Chuck Berry sing Johnny Be Good, and I was right in the front row. And that was just, I'll tell you, that was awesome. Great experience.
Still plays over at Blueberry Hill. And a legend. Great to have him here at the ballpark. And here's Corey Patterson, who was drafted originally by the Cubs. One for 3 with the Cardinals so far. It was a base hit last night. Scored a couple of runs on an error following the base hit.
6 for 10 in his career against Garza.
Drops down the punt. He's got speed. Garza will tag him out.
So much for being a bad defender.
Let's meet the defense behind Garza tonight. Soriano, Bird, and Colvin. Then Ramirez, Castro, Barney, and Pena. And the battery tonight, Matt Garza and Giovanni Soto. That's brought to you by Dobbs.
Garza has 5 errors on the year. And I'm sure that plays into Patterson trying to drop a bunt, make him work early on, but he doesn't panic there, makes the play. We mentioned he had a no-hitter. His was it was not a perfect game. He had a walk, but he faced the minimum in his no-hitter. He did it against the Tigers.
Strike right down the middle to John Jay. John Jay, the center fielder, hitting .310, 7 home runs, and 27 RBIs. Here's a fly ball right center. This is going to drop. It's a base hit. Right fielder Coleman was playing deep. Drops in for a hit. In steps Pujols, 2 away from 2000.
It's one of the toughest ones to read off the bat for an outfielder. It's a full swing, but he barely gets wood on this, and it just kind of dies in shallow right center field. Colvin couldn't tell off the bat whether or not he hit that ball hard or soft, and I think he really did get a bad jump. You mentioned he was playing deep, but I don't think he looked very aggressive coming after it either.
So here is Albert. Pair of doubles last night. 2 hits in the loss to Houston. What really was a very disappointing end of that series. The Cardinals had Carpenter, Garcia after winning the first 2 games and couldn't finish what they started.
Still love having Albert up with the game on the line, though. Batting .350 with runners in scoring position this year. Albert is up among the league leaders in that category. Berkman and Holiday also in the top 5. And I might even say I'm a little surprised at that. Just not a number I would ascribe to Albert right now. I mean, he's had a good year, but not a great year for him. But still .350 with runners in scoring position is pretty darn good.
It's really magnified by his start, too. And I think that's why you and a lot of fans feel that way. You know, his start was certainly not Albert-like, very slow, had opportunities early on to drive in runs, a lot of double plays that he hit into. 1 ball, 1 strike, outfield is deep. And it's a double play ball. Out at second. Out at first, double play. 6-4-3. 23 double plays hit by Pujols.
Meetings with the Cubs, and the number that sticks out is the starters' earned run average, 7.21 for the Cubbies. Cardinals much more respectable, 3.81. A lot of those runs come early too, and the Cardinals have just kind of blown the Cubs out of the water in the first couple of innings. And it is still just a great rivalry to me. It doesn't matter if the Cubs are in last place, first place. Just fun when the Cubbies are here.
Marlon Byrd leads it off. He's hitting .308. You can see he's got a protective part of the helmet that stretches across the left cheek. He was hit on the face by a pitch earlier this year. Real scary moment.
How do you not keep thinking about that?
Thinking the exact same thing. Takes guts to dig back in there. As a pitcher, then, how do you not exploit going up and in?
Well, you go up and in. That'll kind of get the attention, but the real pitch that would be hard to hit if you are still affected by that is the pitch down and away, because your first movement's going to be off the plate, and it's hard to protect down and away. I mean, so maybe you do a little bit of both. You kind of bust them off the plate and show them you're not afraid to do that, but then, you know, the slider down and away, I just think you'd be very vulnerable to that pitch.
Jackson has a very good slider, as we've talked about. There's a ground ball that's pulled foul. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Saw Clint Hurdle get hit in the head by Dwight Gooden in New York. And that's one of the scariest things I've ever seen on a baseball field.
Really was.
He had blood coming out of the side of his head. His helmet was cracked in 2. And he didn't know who he was. Saw him come into the Cardinal clubhouse and into the training room, and I was worried about my buddy Clint Hurdle, but he seems to have made a comeback since that day, and he's doing a great job managing the Pirates.
That's a base hit. Past the diving third baseman of the Cardinals tonight, David Freese. And Byrd on his way to second base with a leadoff double. See Byrd slip a little bit around first base. Good effort there by David Freese. Plaza Tire Service, Foxmo.
You know, Dan, your earlier point about this infield playing quicker and the grass being quicker, you just wonder whether there needs to be an adjustment to play a little bit deeper on the infield. We've seen a couple balls bounce over Freese's head, as you mentioned. You may have to just maybe give up that bunt. Make the pitcher have to handle more of the third base line and first base line, play back more.
It's not to say that David Freese makes that play, but
no.
In general, might want to back up. Here's Soto. Pujols, by the way, grounded into his 23rd double play. The most he has ever grounded into, 27.
23 the last 2 years, 2019 and 2010. That's with a full season of nearly 600 at-bats. Certainly been an issue for him. Very interesting. The guy who's second in the league in grounding into double play is the Cubs shortstop, Starlin Castro.
And he can flat out run. And hits Soto, and the first two have reached. Cardinals Kids TV tomorrow. You'll meet some local boys who got to play for their hometown team, and Fredbird gets a new cell phone. It's 2 feet tall. Cardinals Kids, made possible by Shriners Hospital for Children, and it airs tomorrow at 11 on Fox Sports Midwest.
That last pitch reminds me a little bit of Edwin Jackson hitting the Cardinal, then throwing one up and in, and Chris Carpenter kind of screaming at him a bit. Now they're teammates. Now they're getting along.
Now it's Soriano. Runners at first and second, nobody out. Outfield is deep and straight away. This is hit out to left. Trouble. Holiday over, and it's foul. Phillies all over the Pirates. We'll keep an eye on these scores throughout the evening, but bottom of the fourth, and the Phillies lead Pittsburgh 8-0. Milwaukee has Houston tonight, scoreless in the bottom of the second, and the Reds lead the Giants in the bottom of the fifth, 3-1. Pass to Scalzo and out to left. They'll hold up the runner at third. How about that? They hold up the runner at third, which was Bird, who could have scored easily. Bases loaded and nobody out.
That's just a bad decision by the third base coach, Ivan DeJesus. Matt Holliday wasn't even thinking about throwing the ball home. Bird gets a pretty good jump, and as he rounds third, he stumbles a bit, kind of missteps there, but DeJesus playing it very safely there with nobody out.
But Rick, you've got the 8th place hitter and then the pitcher. You've got to know where you're at in the lineup too. You get a strikeout, double play, or 2 strikeouts in a row, and you're out of this inning.
I'm not thinking of a very good reason why he didn't send him.
Wow.
And the biggest is that Matt Holliday wasn't even prepared to throw home.
Colvin is 0 for 15 against the Cardinals this year. Bases loaded for Chicago.
The word on Colvin is you can't walk him even if you try. Really
I think we just saw a pretty good example there.
He's really struggled this year after a pretty good year last year. Star of the future label. And he's expanded his strike zone just a little bit too much. He's swinging at everything except that.
1 ball, 1 strike. Big gap in right center. The 1-1 pitch. 1-2.
Yeah, this just isn't a little struggle for Colvin. We're talking about a 104 batting average with a decent number of at-bats too. This is not a small sample size. 96 plate appearances for Colvin at the big league level. Just 10 hits.
One ball and 2 strikes on Colvin. Inning started with a double by Bird. Soto hit by a pitch. Single for Soriano. Bases loaded for the 8th place hitter Colvin. Nobody out. 3-2 pitch on its way.
Colvin, a little conversation with DJ Rayburn, as see hitters do every once in a while. I think asking whether or not that pitch was a strike or not. I always felt like if a hitter had to ask, it means he didn't know, and he ought to know.
That's ripped into right. Patterson makes the catch. Runner will tag. Throw from right field. Not in time. Runner from second. Out at third. Cubs will pick up the lead 1-0. Soto runs into an out. Colvin picks up his 9th RBI.
I like the throw from Corey Patterson. Shows a very strong arm. Decent one-hop throw to the plate, not in time. But then Yadier Molina throws out Soto. And I would believe there's no good reason for him to be trying to go from second to third.
And now you have the pitcher, Matt Garza, hitting .051. If the Cardinals come away with this with only 1 run scored against them, you take it. Bases loaded, nobody out. .0-2 pitch to Matt Garza. 3rd strikeout. No, foul tip.
This inning is really a microcosm of the Cubs team, Dan. This is an example of where the sum of all the parts somehow gets diminished. You've got pretty good players in this lineup, but they just don't pull it together with any kind of synergy at all. This is the opposite direction. This is a good inning that just went south.
Now it's a strikeout. 3rd, first time through the lineup for Edwin Jackson. Holiday leads it off when we come back. Double play combo, $55. You'll get a ticket to a Cardinals game and a one-day pass to Six Flags. Double play combo right now at Cardinals.com/Six Flags. It is not sold out tomorrow. It's not sold out on Sunday. Good seats still remaining. And want to pass along that Sunday is a night game, if you hadn't heard yet. It's ESPN telecast, so if you have a ticket, it's a Sunday night game. Let's turn to our keys to the game, presented by Toyota. And it's the fewest road wins National League this season. Chicago 17-32.
Yeah, and the Astros have 18 because they won the last two, in fact, here at Busch Stadium. Otherwise, they'd be on top of that list. Now the Cubs at 17-32, worst road record in the National League. Surprising to see the Milwaukee Brewers on that list with just 21.
What do you think about this one counts and home field advantage if Milwaukee would get into the World Series? How important is that for them as well as they play at home?
It's always important. I mean, the advantage of the World Series, home field advantage is critical. And I guess I know that from experience.
Second half, you see the numbers for Holiday. Holiday, Freeze, and Schumacher. Cardinals still without Lance Berkman. And apparently when we saw him on deck last night, that was completely a decoy by Tony La Russa. Even if a couple of runners would have gotten on, Berkman would not have hit late in that game. We saw the game end with Kyle Loesch. Cardinals out of position players, and Loesch final at bat. There's a look at Berkman, who might be available for this ball game this evening.
And even as a decoy, I've tried to understand exactly what the value would be to have him as a decoy. I mean, if you're going to hit Kyle Loesch, what are they going to do any different with a 2-run lead? I mean, I may be missing something, but if you're going to hit Kyle Loesch third, you're going to hit him third, and they're still going to pitch to Holiday and Pujols the same way, aren't they?
Absolutely. I'm with you.
You're not going to walk Holiday with one out because you're knowing that Kyle Loesch is up next. I don't think.
Ooh, up and in, 2-2. The Cardinals also have Nick Punto on the 15-day disabled list. He has a strained left oblique. Hurt that in the 4th inning last night. And Tyler Green recalled from AAA. Laird is okay. Tony Cruz is okay. Holiday hits a fly ball into shallow right. And the catch is made this time by Colvin. One away. We saw off the bat of Jay. Ball that bounced in front of Colvin. Almost the identical spot. This time he makes the catch. There's Nick Punto out with the strained oblique.
Frustrating year for him in a lot of ways. He's had a lot of injuries. Certainly has contributed when he's played. Valuable piece. Play a lot of positions. Switch hit.
Want to know the count on David Freese, who's hitting .320. 5 home runs, 23 RBIs.
You follow a team at the major league level from day one of spring training to the end of the year, whenever that is. You learn how important it is to manage your injuries properly and to have enough pieces to move around to overcome injuries. Every team has them, and if you panic and make some decisions that end up working against you in the long haul, then you're not going to have a very good season. You have to find a way to overcome. Tony's great thing to say is, I'm just going to worry about who I have and not worry about who I don't have.
2 balls and a strike. Cardinals, Fox Sports, State of Missouri teaming up to help you to stop smoking. For more information, call the Quit line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW. And you never know, you've got a couple of days even to change that, to get more depth, whether it be in the bullpen or position players before the trade deadline. Clearly the Cardinals have said we're going all in with the trade of Colby Rasmus. Will they add to that before Sunday?
Could be.
2-2. On the inside corner, strikeout of Freese. First strikeout for Matt Garza.
Tries to throw that on the inside corner, pulled back a little bit by Soto, might have been inside. David Freese still swings at the pitch he can't hit, the breaking ball in the dirt. and then takes a pitch that's just off the plate. And well, hitters will tell you a good at bat is picking the right pitch that you can handle and laying off the other ones.
Now it's Skip Schumacher that floats in there for a strike. Skip has bounced all over the lineup this year. Leadoff man. He's been in the 8th spot, and tonight he's batting 6th. Average at 282, pair of home runs, 22 RBIs. Want to go inside on the 0-2 pitch. It's ripped down the right field line and fair into the corner. Schumacher on his way to second. 2-out double on an 0-2 pitch by Schumacher. Skip Schumacher pitch with that double to second. Goes Schumacher, safe at second, safe and secure. New York Life.
I'm not sure about that 0-2 location, trying to throw a curveball 0-2 inside to a left-hander. He just kind of hung it up there, and kind of an odd pitch selection to me. You can throw one in the dirt maybe, or throw one back door, but not a good pitch.
Didn't see that hard break either that Garza is known for when he's right. Here's Yadier Molina with a runner at second base and 2 outs. Molina hits a ground ball to short, and Castro makes the play. Schumacher stranded after his 2-out double. Cubs on top after 2. They have changed the game, located at Livier Place casinos and hotels. And by Taco Bell, think outside the bun. Live look, Busch Stadium, St. Louis. Castro, Barney, and Ramirez, top of the lineup for Chicago. And there's strike one to Castro, a single to start the game. All-star for Chicago this year, and they believe he will man that position, shortstop for Chicago for years to come. Ground ball, freeze, one away. Never know. Maybe a future Cardinal star right there. Cardinals with two guys from St. Louis on the team. Kyle McClellan and David Freese. Line drive into right, base hit. You grew up a Mets fan, correct?
I did, and I'm sorry.
You're over it now?
I'm over it now big time. But most of my family was really on the Cardinal side, even in New York.
Why?
They loved Stan Musial. Actually, my grandmother went to see Stan Musial play in a World Series game. She bought a ticket for $1.50 and took my uncle to watch Stan Musial play and just loved the way he played. And really, half of my extended family were Cardinal fans, half Met fans, because of the influence of my grandmother, who just was beside herself excited when I was drafted by the Cardinals.
That's great. There's a strike to Ramirez. And coming through the Cardinal system, one of the things that you definitely notice, I'm sure it was the case back then, but Stan would be at spring training, and currently now you see Gibson and Brock, Shandies, the Hall of Famers are there.
It's one of my favorite parts of this game. Just the history of it.
0-2.
If you've been a Cardinal, you're proud of the great tradition of being a Cardinal. So many names we don't even go back to very often. You think about Frankie Frisch and Marty Marion and players that played long before Gibson and Brock. Red Shandies has kind of transcended a lot of generations of Cardinal stars.
Ramirez, another swing and a miss. I'm not sure he's made contact tonight. Pair of strikeouts, and Pena will be the hitter. We talk about it all the time, but it is amazing. You see Red here at the ballpark, and the players, the current players, know about his history, and he's here hitting fungos and talking to Tony every single day. And for us, it's always fun to visit with him too.
On Red's at the stage, obviously, he's seen so many things that, you know, when he makes a statement, there's usually some great deep meaning to it. He has the pithy sayings and the stories and all that, but I mean, you just know that there's a lot of wisdom that comes out of his mouth, and that's why Tony likes to talk to him every day. What's your word today? What do you have for me? And I think he's really eagerly expecting Red to come up with something that has value.
And he's also very adept at using a cell phone.
Yes, Red, we're talking about you. Yes, we are.
Tony La Russa in his 16th year. Manager of the Cardinals, and here comes a 1-0 pitch to Pena. Popped up. Second baseman wants it. That's Schumacher tonight. He's got it. Midway through 3. Chicago on top. iPad, Android, or BlackBerry. Get live audio, pitch-by-pitch tracking, video highlights, and more. Text at bat to 31826 or visit Cardinals.com for details. Descalso is the 8th place hitter, followed by the pitcher Jackson, and then Corey Patterson. 1-0 Chicago. Sac fly RBI by Colvin to bring in Bird, but it could have been much worse. The Cubs had the bases loaded, nobody out, and only picked up 1 run.
Cubs really messed up that inning, didn't they?
They did. And it started with holding up the runner to load the bases. Easily could have made it 1-0 just by waving in the runner initially. Third baseman Ramirez in on the grass, and that pitch is a strike to Descalso. Outfield is straight away. 0-1. Ground ball to first. Pena off his glove. And that'll be an error on the first baseman of the Cubs.
It's his 7th error of the season. Not a hard chance. Just kicks off his glove. Really nothing to that hop, and then Barney slips. Trying to back him up. Ball's deflected a bit to the second base side of the second baseman. He can't make the play, and Cardinals get a break.
Edwin Jackson has spent time with the Dodgers, Tampa Bay, Detroit, Arizona, the White Sox, and now St. Louis.
It's a lot of teams for a young man.
It's only 27. And it makes you wonder why, with his live arm, and apparently a good guy in the clubhouse, why he has bounced around as much as he has.
So there's always been a lot of talk about Jackson as being a guy, and we mentioned it in the scouting report, that didn't necessarily have a good plan. You know, he had good stuff, but just didn't really seem to know what to do with it. And again, maybe the Cardinals will help him with that. Could be the perfect place for him.
0-2. New edition of Cardinals Game Day magazine came out today, and our buddy Mike Shannon is on the cover. Fun story about the Moon Man. 40 years plus of Mike Shannon behind the microphone. Cardinals Game Day magazine.
He's a treasure, isn't he? Makes me laugh every time I'm with him.
He's something. And the 0-2 is perfect by Jackson. Pena only plays at first, and the out. So with 2 strikes, he gets it down.
There's our treasure.
It's Joe Buck up there. He'll be working the game, I think, tomorrow with Tim McCarver.
Pena's a little slow retrieving this ball. He takes his time, actually checks second a little bit. Soto's saying first, and by the time he lobs it there, ends up being a pretty close play. Jackson getting down the line very well. Barney just barely gets the bag in time.
In the article on Mike Shannon, they go behind the scenes with Mike and some of his guests over at Live at Shannon's, which is a terrific radio show on KMOX following baseball. It's been that way since the mid-'80s.
Probably not supposed to have favorites in terms of that kind of media thing, but I love that show.
A lot of fun. Cardinals.com/publications to find out more.
You get some guys unplugged, just talking about their life in baseball, and I just think it's entertaining.
Here's a 1-0 pitch to Patterson. Slaps it towards short. Castro only play across the diamond. Boy, Patterson can get down the line still. Advancing, Descalso on the play.
From the left side, you get a quicker jump out of the box. You actually start closer to first base than right-handers do. We don't talk about that very often, but really a couple of steps. You hit from the left side, you should get down quicker. Patterson still runs well. John Jay with an opportunity to tie it up.
A strike to Jay. Singled first time up.
You also think about the follow through of a batter from the left side. As you swing through with a left-handed stroke, your body's actually moving in that direction at first base. A right-handed batter, especially a power hitter, is going to swing and then be pulling towards third base, then have to stop his momentum and then take off to the bag.
0-2 the count with 2 outs. 1-0 Chicago. Tying run down at third. Gap into right center for Jay. Next pitch to him. We'll do it again at 1-2.
Notice he didn't make the same mistake he made to Schumacher when he had him 0-2, where he hung him a curveball trying for the strikeout.
One-two pitch to Jay. Ground ball slowly hit to second. And Jay is out by a couple of steps. The Cardinals strand a runner. They've stranded 2 on the night. And we head to the 4th. Chicago on top. Chicago with the lead as we move to the top of the 4th, and it's 1-0 the Cubs. And a strike at the knees to Marlon Byrd. Byrd is 1 for 1 with a double and a run scored. A double past a diving David Freese down the third base line. And here's the 0-1 pitch. 0-2. 97 that last pitch in our gun. 96 here at the stadium. Either way you look at it, he's throwing hard.
Both pitchers are. David Freese takes a couple of steps back now that there's 2 strikes. That's something to watch for in the coming weeks here at Busch Stadium. how balls are getting their way through the infield because of the quicker grass and the harder dirt that you mentioned, Dan, and might be the adjustment that needs to be made. Play a little bit deeper on the infield, gives you a little more range, but you better have an arm.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Marlon Byrd. Remember Brendan Ryan, he would play on the outfield grass.
That's right. That's right. With the great arm to go along with it.
That's right. 1-2 pitch. Lazy fly ball into right. Patterson makes the catch. Cardinals camp out presented by Bass Pro Shops and Tracker Boats is back Friday, August 19th. Come spend a night on the field and under the stars at Busch Stadium for an evening filled with fun activities. For tickets, visit us online, cardinals.com/campout. Mention that we have good seats available tomorrow and Sunday. Head on the road to Milwaukee and then Florida. Cardinals return home, a real key series, and that'll be with the Milwaukee Brewers. Tickets starting as low as $5 for that series with the Brewers. Those tickets won't last long. 1 ball, 1 strike on Giovanni Soto, a former National League Rookie of the Year.
Pretty classic delivery from the right-hander Jackson. If you think about your classic right-handed delivery, very slow at the start, gathers at the middle, and then just drives to the plate. Not very complicated, but I would say pretty standard delivery, and he certainly does throw hard. In fact, he's throwing harder now than he did in the first inning. There's the gather, and then the explosion from there. Little slider. Doesn't have to break very much, just has to break late.
Slowly hit, charging, Descalso, gloves, throws, makes the play. Remember when Edwin Jackson was with the Dodgers, Rick, and we saw him, and your eyes lit up. You thought, boy, this guy is going to be something else.
Well, he has the tools, no doubt, as the pitches. You know, command is always that next question. And you don't always know when a player is going to get that. You know, I remember Greg Maddux as a rookie pitching, and you think, wow, this guy's got great stuff. At that time, he did throw hard. Not a big guy, but he threw hard. And you really didn't know much about what kind of command would he have. Well, we found out eventually he had Hall of Fame command.
Soriano, fly ball to left. Good start thus far for Jackson. It's 1-0 Chicago. And the next one will be this Sunday prior to the night start to night game, the Cardinals Sunday Night Baseball. And that game will be at 7:09 with the first pitch. 3:10 tomorrow on Big Fox. Loesch and Rodrigo Lopez. And on Sunday, Westbrook and Dempster.
Been a good start for Edwin Jackson so far, but the Cardinals are going to have to find a way to get some offense against Mr. Garza. He looks sharp as well. And why not start it out with Albert?
Grounded into his 23rd double play, first time up.
Astros did a bit to take the wind out of the Cardinals' sails. I think there was just a great feeling going on in this homestand after the Cardinals took the first two, finished the road trip well prior to that, and then the Astros just really flattened out the Cardinals. Let's blame Bud Norris for that.
A little bit surprising, too, especially after the front office pulls off a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Usually that sends a jolt in the clubhouse, and it's a vibe. You've been through it, Rick, where the players say, okay, it's a long season, a grinding season, and the front office, they haven't forgotten about us. They think we can win this thing. Well, the players are awfully excited about it. Here's a 1-0 pitch to Pujols.
You wouldn't call July 29th the pennant race yet, but it's the early pennant race when you get to that deadline. Then another kind of recharge happens when you get into September, and you know, hey, it's almost over. I see the finish line. We got to drive to that. So I think you're right. You normally do get a lift, and we just haven't seen it yet.
Here's a 2-0 pitch at the knees, 2-1. Cardinals did that with Matt Holliday a couple of years ago. They made that trade on the 24th, so they got him about a week before the deadline. One of the biggest deals of the year. The 2-1 pitch in the air, right center. That ball will get down. And Pujols on his way to second base, and one hit shy of 2,000 in his major league career. This is our Nissan drive of the game. Rick, you talked about it this week. Albert going to right field an awful lot.
Yeah, 1999 was a well-hit ball for Albert Pujols. This one in the gap, and he is staying on the ball much better when he drives it the other way. And you could just tell the ball gets down now in that gap instead of just staying up and an outfielder roaming underneath it. That ball is just scooting to the wall, and Albert's piling up the doubles again. Not very many doubles early on in this season.
Inside to Holliday.
And this is the guy, of all the guys in the lineup, you just like to see get red hot. You mentioned when he came to the Cardinals, he just has that ability to carry a team.
Yes.
Albert does, but Matt Holliday gets as hot as anybody when he's seeing the ball well.
2-0. They shade Holliday a little bit to right field, so that gap is pretty big in left center. Holliday bounces one up the middle. Castro off his glove, spins and throws, and everybody's safe. The first two have reached.
It was surprising. Castro's made 18 errors on the season, and probably a lot of them by making throws like that where he got no chance and really just trying to do something more than he's capable of doing. You like the hustle of a young player, but he needs to stick that ball in his back pocket. Could have easily been an error. We could have seen Albert score the tying run.
Now David Freese. Big Cardinal fan, Joanne Kurtz. Happy birthday to Joanne. 80 years young. Joanne Kurtz, happy birthday. Freese, high fly ball, left center, to the track, to the wall, gone! It's out of here! Home run, David Freese. 3-1, St. Louis.
It was time for an emotional lift for the Cardinals. Pujols started it. Holiday with an infield hit, and now David Freese. Very big lift. 3-run shot. Albert knows it's gone right off the bat. That'll get some buzz going.
Cardinals on top, their first lead of the night. Schumacher doubled on an 0-2 pitch back in the second inning. Sharply to second. Barney makes the play. Follow every Cardinals game through Game Connect on Fox Sports Midwest. To watch the game on television, you can join the conversation about the game on Twitter, track trends, and stats. Game Connect, find it at foxsportsmidwest.com. Freese's home run measured at 394 feet. Nice present for Joanne Kurtz on her 80th birthday.
And a nice present for Edwin Jackson.
He looks pretty good so far. Would you agree?
He really does. 4 solid innings. Did give up a run in the second inning, and the Cubs could have certainly scored more there. They ran themselves out of that inning. But he's allowed just 4 hits. We've seen a good fastball, 4 strikeouts from Jackson. Did hit a batter, but he hasn't walked a Cub yet.
For Freese, that was his 6th home run. RBIs 24, 25, and 26. Foul ball right below us. And it's 0-2. It's nice to see that Freese pulled the ball too for a home run. A lot of his home runs have gone to right center.
We saw him do that on the road trip, talking it over with Mark McGuire. Always a lesson to be learned, even when things are going well.
0-2 pitch to Yadier Molina. Popped up again.
I've always thought that coaches make a mistake in not communicating enough. And I'm not saying all coaches do that, but I think when things are going well, when something good happens, that's a good time to really get into the head of a player and understand what the approach was, what the mechanics felt like. And you don't want to talk too much about it, because all of a sudden you get them thinking too much. But if you can get something from the player who's going well, you can help them get back to that when things aren't going so well.
Muni boys are here cheering on the Cardinals. They brought some good luck here in this 4th inning. 3-1 St. Louis on a 3-run homer by David Freese. You talk about a message and learning. That's what makes Tony, I think, pretty amazing. Whether you like him or not, he's here in his 16th season, and believe us, he does have the attention of his 25-man roster.
You bet he does.
Fly ball out to left. Soriano makes the catch. Think about that, Rick. I mean, you've been in and out of clubhouses and dealt with different coaches and managers. For a guy to be here 16 years at this sport is amazing.
And clearly he survived some things as a Cardinal manager that most people who were thinner skinned would never have put up with. I mean, he came here trying to replace some legendary coaches, and, you know, past the Whitey era, the Red Schoendienst era, and you know, being a different kind of communicator than those two. You know, people didn't quite get him. He's not a Midwest guy. And so he had to overcome a lot of animosity early in his career, and a lot of people would have just packed it in and left. And he's clearly not concerned about people just liking him. He just wants to win.
Scalzo grounds out to second. Frees the home run. Cardinals on top for the first time tonight. Is the world's largest rocking chair near Cuba. You don't want to, if you've got an off day, Rick, in your schedule this summer, you don't want to miss the world's largest rocking chair.
You're not going to believe this, but I have been to Cuba probably 40 times in my life, and I've missed the rocking chair. What's the matter with me?
It's hard to miss.
How could I have missed that?
Now the chair sits adjacent to the general store and taxidermy and archery center, 4 miles west of Cuba.
Oh,
So it's 4 miles west.
Oh,
so
that's why I missed it.
I know you frequent a lot of taxidermies in your spare time, and I figured that you had seen the world's largest rocking chair.
I've been to the golf course in Cuba, been a lot of places in Cuba.
Probably been on the lakes there.
I've been on the, but I have never seen the rocking chair.
Check it out next. You know what?
Next time.
Get on your iPad and visit mo.com.
You got it.
We go to the 5th, and Colvin will lead it off. Followed by Garza and Castro. Colvin with the RBI. Back in the 2nd inning, a sac fly RBI that put the Cubs on top at that point, 1-0. It was a line drive to right to Corey Patterson, and as you noted at the time, pretty good throw by Patterson just to make it fairly close at the plate, but throw that was on line resulted in Soto trying to tag up from 2nd to 3rd, being thrown out by Molina. And really the Cubs ran themselves out of what could have been a very big inning.
Story of their season.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. Out in front on that changeup. It's popped up. Pujols hustling. Foul territory. Puts it away.
You know, Dan, we like to give numbers just to kind of prove some points, and you know, you don't want to drive people crazy with it, but you know, there's a real reality about this Cubs team in terms of their on-base percentage. They actually hit very well as a team. They're 4th in the National League at .261, but their on-base percentage, they're 11th in the National League because they never walk. And so you've got a team and you say, okay, these guys can hit. The averages are decent. Why don't they win? Well, they're not getting on base as much as you think they are. The on-base percentage, again, 11th in the league. They're down with the teams that are batting .230.
I know we've talked about it before. I've never really asked you, though, point blank. Why haven't the Cubs won? Well, I mean, you played there. You know what Wrigley Field's like.
There's some teams that should have won, though. I mean, there's some teams where you look back that, you know, the team in, I believe it was 84, Sutcliffe, Leon Durham.
Yep. Ball that went through his legs.
I mean, they just had some outstanding talent on that team. Jody Davis behind the plate.
I believe San Diego won that year and then lost to Detroit in '84.
Keith Moreland. Sean Dunston might have been a rookie that year.
Even with Pryor and, you know, most recently Pryor and Wood, the team that they had there.
You know, there's a lot said, Dan, and you know, people certainly have their own reasons for that. The Cubs searching for their own reasons for it, and some would say there was a time where, because there were so many day games in Chicago, that was a problem because they were really playing a different kind of game than everybody else. A lot of day games, and you know, somehow that was going to influence them physically over the course of a season. But that's not really an issue now.
No.
And so there's certainly more to it than just that.
Base hit by Garza. Block for Brolio.
And Mr. Brolio had a chance to meet him actually at an autograph signing where both those guys were there. Both Brolio and Brock were at the same place with signing baseballs together. Very nice man, Ernie Brolio, and he was a big winner with the Cardinals, and he got hurt. It's not his fault. He could have been a big winner with the Cubs. Injuries played a part of this, but Lou Brock, certainly big numbers as a Cardinal, and, you know, the rest is really history in terms of what he's meant to the Cardinal franchise. But I really feel for Ernie Brolio because he was a very, very good pitcher that just got a bad break.
Well, you know that he and Lou have actually become pretty good friends over the years because of the trade and the connection. And with Garza running, you'll see Pujols play behind him. He's at first. Last year at Lou's charity event, Brolio was the featured guest and speaker. When he was introduced, the crowd gave him a standing ovation. And I did an interview with both of them at the same time, and Lou actually got a little choked up talking about it.
Yeah.
You know, he said it's not his fault.
He's been a gentleman about it. He really has.
Exactly.
I mean, he's not, you know, he's had a nice life. He's not, you know, he's not kind of bitter about it at all. And he just, you know, hey, that's the way it goes. I think Lou has something to do with that, too. Lou has such a gracious personality himself. You could see why they'd become good friends.
2 balls and a strike here on Starlin Castro. Debut tonight, Cardinal debut for Edwin Jackson. So far, so good. He's given up 1 run and 5 hits.
Braulio hurts his arm in 1995 instead of 1975 or whatever year that was. Maybe they do that quick repair on it, and all of a sudden he's a 20-game winner for 10 years.
It's a good point.
And it's a whole different story. Wrong era.
Here's a 2-1 pitch. Make it 3-1. On Castro. Castro is 1 for 2. He's singled, also grounded out to third. I understand we'll have a little break from the heat tomorrow, and then we'll be back ready to roll for us on Sunday. Come on out to the ballpark just after 3 o'clock. Our first pitch for game 2 of this series. And that's a walk. He's hit a man, and now his first walk. And here's a look at our trivia question presented by AT&T. Since 1946, which players had the longest hit streak against the Cardinals? Where's Ramirez on that streak? There it is.
Right there.
And I didn't have to, I wasn't even cheating. I didn't even see it beforehand. I actually thought it was more than that.
I believe you. Actually, Derek Lee's second on that list at 23, I believe. And Ramirez, you know, that just doesn't surprise me at all. He just seems like a hitting machine every time the Cardinals play him. And I hate to say it, but he's had a lot of games just like this one where he looks bad in a couple of at-bats. All of a sudden he comes up with runners on base and does some damage. So we've seen that from him before.
Phillies now up 10-0 in the top of the 8th over Pittsburgh. This is slowly hit. Jackson off the mound, bare hands, nice play. Tying runs will be in scoring position for Ramirez. He has struck out twice, and I'm not sure he has even fouled a ball off.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about. I've seen him do that before. Willie McGee was like that a lot. He'd have really bad at-bat, maybe 2 bad at-bats, swinging the ball over his head. Next thing you know, in the 8th inning, he'd line one off the wall and score 3 and excite everybody by running home to third. Ramirez, not the same kind of player as Willie, but he's can be very damaging with runners in scoring position. He's an RBI machine.
And there's a strike with the fastball to Aramis Ramirez. 2 outs, 2 on.
Who's thought of him as a good mistake hitter?
Very much so. If you hang one, he's going to just destroy it. What's the general theory, Rick, with pitchers, and in particular starting pitchers with a runner at third, 2 outs, and whether you go from the windup or the stretch?
Well, I think it's really a matter of comfort is what the manager will tell you. You do what you are most comfortable with. Now, the thought would be the guy in third is going to get a bit more of a lead when you work out of the windup, because the minute you start your motion, he can go and come down the line. But where's he going to go anyway? He's not going to steal, obviously. And as long as you check him and then go into your windup, you're really not giving up too much.
Ground ball to Pujols. Jackson is covering first, and the Cubs strand 2. He gets out of the jam. Midway through 5, Cardinals lead it. It's 3-1. in history.
Yeah, last 5 years it was at 5.5. That's the Cardinals were behind the Cubs. But you look at the progression over the last 5 years. Cardinals start on July 29th, 2011, 13 games ahead of the Chicago Cubs.
Tony La Russa and the Cardinals leading here in Game 1 of this weekend series. As we mentioned, they'll head to Milwaukee after Sunday night. And then they'll be in Florida. Florida team that's had their struggles this year, but Milwaukee has been one of the best teams at home all season long. So that'll be a fun series to watch.
And I don't quite understand how the Florida Marlins went south overnight. That was a team that was playing good baseball early on, and they have good young talent. Stanton, we saw them here. We knew they had a good lineup. Gabby Sanchez, good player. Coughlin, and all of a sudden that team either quit on the manager or something happened. But over 10 games, they started losing, and then he was out, and he just was done. And it's just, how did that happen? And so they've really, I don't think they've ever really recovered from that. And it was a team that I thought was going to challenge perhaps in the East. A pretty tough division, though.
They've been so good about reloading every year.
Yeah.
You know, and staying competitive, staying around in the race.
And Hanley Ramirez just has not gotten it figured out.
No, he hasn't. Here is Edwin Jackson. Patterson on deck, then John Jay, if anybody can reach. We may see history with Pujols. 1 hit shy of 2,000 for his career. 0-2. Pitch. Jackson up the middle. Garza barehands it and makes the play.
I talked about
on Matt Garza here.
Yeah, I talked about how he wasn't a very good fielder, but maybe he's a little bit better when he uses his bare hand. You hope he's okay. 5 errors on the year. Decides to just kind of barehand that ball up the middle. Mark O'Neill, former Cardinal trainer. Been the head trainer for the Cubs for a number of years. He's out there with Mike Quaddy, the manager. They're going to ask him to throw a couple of pitches just to make sure he's all right.
And he says he's fine. Good play. Takes the hit away from Edwin Jackson, and now it's Corey Patterson.
Another bad 0-2 pitch. This one hangs a bit, and there's the bare hand that just reaches up. Then he bats it up in the air and catches it in his bare hand. Unusual play. Would have been a base hit, I think.
I do too. Way off the line and in over at third is Ramirez. Outfield straight away.
Only fitting that Albert would get hit number 2,000 against the Cubs.
If not tonight, you would assume some point this weekend. We showed you on that graphic he hit on the 4th of July a home run. It was off the foul pole a couple years ago here at this ballpark for home run number 300 against Chicago. Number 400 was against Washington on the road.
And where will home run number 500 be?
I'm thinking 600.
And then 600. And also important to that question is, what uniform will he be wearing?
I was about to say, where will he be?
Yes,
what
right.
team? One and two. We don't have any inside info. This is just a gut feeling. I think he winds up back here.
And that's my thought as well. Time will tell.
1-2 pitch. Patterson swing and a miss. It was a foul tip held on to by Soto. And the strikeout is number 2. John Jay digs in. What's on tap? Lopez and Loesch. And that's brought to you by Budweiser. That'll be on Big Fox tomorrow.
was our pinch hitter last night, Kyle Loesch. Cardinals ran out of players, 3 injuries during the game, including Nick Punto, who's now on the 15-day disabled list. Tyler Green has joined the ball club to replace him. But both catchers, Gerald Laird and Tony Cruz, got banged up during the game, and so Kyle Loesch ended up pinch hitting and making the final out of the game against the Astros. That just didn't have a very good feel, did it?
Did not. Here's a 1-0 pitch. Hit the other way. Base hit. We've seen a lot of the flash bulbs popping tonight when Albert Pujols has been coming to the plate. First pitch to Albert. Here's the 0-1 pitch to Pujols. These fans know what's at stake here. All the flash bulbs popping.
Smart fans.
Here's a 1-1 pitch to Pujols instead of check on the runner at first.
That was such a phenomenon with Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire during the home run chase in 1998. All the fans taking photos of all those at-bats and those really magical moments, and just pretty special time.
The 1-1 pitch to Albert Pujols. Pujols grounds to third. Wide throw. And the 5th inning comes to a close. St. Louis on top 3-1. To learn more, visit kia.com. And for a limited time, Jack's really big chicken sandwich combo is back for only $3.99 plus tax at participating restaurants. Big Cardinal fans Paul Baxter and Dan Hoffman. Paul Baxter and Dan Hoffman celebrating their birthdays together tonight here at the ballpark. Here's Carlos Pena.
It's a big inning for Edwin Jackson. He's gotten through 5 with just 1 run. Now he's facing 4, 5, and 6 for the Cubs. And you'd think if he gets through this inning, might be a little smoother sailing in the 7th. And maybe that's all you need out of him.
How do you think the Cardinals approach Edwin Jackson? Is this just a rental in your mind for the final 2 months, or if he does something that they really, really like, they say, well, maybe we should pony up and figure if we can try to keep this guy?
I think it remains to be seen. Yeah. I think he's going to have to prove that he's somebody that you want long term. I certainly think they wouldn't have gotten him if they're not interested in that.
That has been the track record, whether Walt was here or even with John Mozeliak. Let's get a guy, let's get him in this environment, and even if his deal is up at the end of the year, let's see if we can strike an agreement to keep him here.
I think you'd think differently about it if Edwin Jackson was 36 years old and maybe he's towards the end of his career and Cardinals get John Smoltz. They don't necessarily think that's going to translate into a longer-term deal. But in this case, I think you at least want to explore that possibility.
2 walks issued by Jackson tonight. Cardinals have out hit Chicago 6-5. They lead it 3-1. All 3 runs scoring on 1 swing of the bat by David Freese. Edwin Jackson this year, month of April, high ERA, but since then much better.
Control's been better. Not just the ERA, but just 2.3 walks per 9 innings. That's a decent number.
Marlon Byrd looks at strike 1. One pitch to Byrd. Broken bat. Could be 2. Out at second. Out at first. And Byrd is very surprised to be called out on that play, but no argument.
Yeah, bang bang play at first base. Nice job by David Freese getting rid of this ball quickly. Got to worry about the bat for a second. Now you just got to get rid of it. Good turn by Schumacher. He's got a strong arm. Close play. I don't know. I think he's safe.
I don't think there was any chance that he was going to be called out on that play. So 5-4-3 double play. Really a play that Freese had to concentrate on after the shattered bat.
And that call made by, I believe that's Jim Wolf down at first base. And he is rated the #1 umpire by the players, at least. And a lot of people just think he's just the single best umpire in baseball.
I think they actually changed Culpa and Jim Wolf. So it might be Culpa at first. We'll take a look during the break.
Well, he's a St. Louis guy.
What do you expect? Out.
No wonder he was out.
Against the Rockies on Sunday, August 14th. 12,000 fans ages 15 and under receive a bear honoring Stan the Man with a paid admission. And that's for tickets, August 14th. Visit Cardinals.com. Run the bases before the game, or after the game, excuse me, and before the game, ice cream sundae, terrace level tickets. Get you a free hot dog and soda. Here's Matt Holliday. Holliday is 1 for 2. A swing and a miss. Single back in the fourth and came around to score on the home run by David Freese.
Just 84 pitches for Edwin Jackson through 6 innings. Pretty good ratio. I like the thought of getting him 7 innings and then getting him out and letting the bullpen finish it. I just think there's something about building a momentum with a new player that want to have a good experience, and I think it would be kind of the wrong move to leave him in too long, but that of course is the $1 million question. When's too long?
Report on MLB.com that the Phillies have acquired Hunter Pence. Pence was pulled from the Astros game in Milwaukee in the bottom of the 5th. And he was seen hugging teammates in the dugout, heading to the clubhouse. Normally, that's not how you normally would head to the clubhouse.
No.
So it looks like he is headed to Philly. Here's a 1-2 pitch. That would fill the role that's really been lacking in that lineup ever since Jason Worth signed with Washington, and they have a young player that they've been counting on, but it's been hit and miss at times.
It's still such a good team, though. I mean, they really have an outstanding lineup from top to bottom.
That's a base hit. Holliday on his way to second base, past Ramirez into the corner. Soriano has to dig it out. Leadoff double. He's 2 for 3.
Ball is hit hard by Holliday. Under the glove of Ramirez. Ramirez actually has had decent hands at third base over the years. You wouldn't call him an electric player in terms of the way he goes about his business, but the numbers are there. And you may see him in a new uniform before Sunday.
He came out before the game tonight, Rick, and after yesterday, saying essentially he would waive his no trade deal. He said he thinks he was misunderstood, and now basically is saying that I'm not going to waive my no trade clause in his contract. At the beginning of the game, we weren't sure about that, but a report has just come out saying, hey, now I'm staying put.
Well, usually if a player says I'm not going to waive it, what they may be meaning is I'm not going to waive it unless you give me some reasons, and a lot of reasons with a lot of zeros after it, and then I'll waive it. I will conditionally waive it. You can buy me out of it.
Money talks, huh?
Well, it's one of my least favorite parts of this game, but it's reality that these are players that are playing a game at a big level with big money for a short period of time, and that's business. And they got to deal with that business.
There's a broken bat by Freese off the end of the bat. A pitch at 95 from Garza. David Freese with a home run back in the 4th.
I've always thought that the more fans know about the contracts and the clauses and all that with players, the more disgruntled they get. It just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't sit well, I think, with most fans to think about the high level of contracts that these guys are dealing with. I'd rather be talking about their ability and their performance and their potential, their giftedness.
One ball and 2 strikes. Upstairs to Freeze. Waves at it and strikes out. 3rd strikeout for Matt Garza. Men in scoring position, the Cardinals have been pretty good. If you look at 2011, an average of an even 300.
It's about 40 points above, 35 points above what their average is as a team, which means that they're getting it done when it counts. And I think they certainly did that early on in this season, maybe not so much in the last few weeks. But a number of players in the top 10 and batting with runners in scoring position, including the big 3, Berkman, Holiday, and Pujols.
Here's Schumacher. Taps one foul. Skip has picked up a base hit. A double on an 0-2 pitch back in the 2nd inning. And he also grounded out to second. Cardinals with a lead of 3-1 thanks to David Freese. One ball, 1 strike. Special hello to a big Cardinals fan, Laura Beatty, from her family and friends. Understand that Laura is watching tonight. Two and 2 the count. Just missed.
Garza throws hard, but he has a little sink to that fastball. He throws to the outside corner for left-handers, which really is a great weapon to have. Not just a straight 4-seamer, but he's got that sink. And we mentioned in the scouting report at the top that the curveball has been a pitch that's been more effective for him of late. But he's thrown a few curveballs that have spun.
Like we saw earlier with
Schumacher.
Yep, Schumacher
on an 0-2 pitch.
Here's a 3-2. Tapped foul by Skip. Miss not seeing Ron Santo.
Yeah, I hear you. Mr. Cub. In so many ways. Of course, that's what you call Ernie Banks. But Ron Santo just epitomized the Cubs.
Really did.
Number 10.
3-2 pitch and a walk. And so with 1 out, the Cardinals up by a pair. Yadier Molina will be the hitter with runners at first and second.
Never forget seeing when the Cubs last won their division title, seeing Ron Santo in tears and just so excited about that. And mean, you're talking about at the core caring about the Cubs winning, and there's just a large part of you, if you knew him at all, that made you think you just wish they'd have had a chance to win a World Series. Yeah.
Or even more so, you wish you would have been able to get to the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Base hit Molina. Here comes Holiday. Soriano's throw to the plate. He is safe as the ball gets away. Yachty moves up to second, and the Cardinals have a 4-1 lead.
Here's the jump by Holiday. The throw by Soriano misses the cutoff man, not in time. And the runners advance. Strong throw, but about a foot too late.
George DeLozier, big Cardinal fan, recovering in a hospital in Hannibal. Never misses a game. We wish him well. That's George DeLozier. So Yadier Molina comes through. Big spot in this game right here for Descalso. But you do have the pitcher on deck. Cardinals could have the bases loaded, one out, and then if you're Tony La Russa, maybe a decision here with the bases loaded, try to bust this game wide open. Or do you stay with Edwin Jackson?
If it was 2-1 or 3-1, I would pinch hit. But by scoring that extra run, making it 4-1, the lead's, I'm not going to say safe, but the lead has been extended. I would allow Jackson to hit. 3-1 would have been close. That would have been a tougher decision.
Lefty getting loose for Chicago in their pen. They've got 3 of them out there with Russell, Graybo, and Marshall. Fox Saturday Baseball tomorrow begins at 3. Check local listings for the game in your area. Cubs and Cardinals tomorrow. So Jackson will be the hitter with the bases loaded. He is sacrificed, and he also bounced one back to Matt Garza that made a nice play. Matt did with his bare hand and took a hit away.
Don't really have a ton of choices in terms of the pinch hit possibilities either with the Cardinals. You have to assume Lance Berkman is only available if you have to use him.
I really don't know about the status as far as how they feel with Laird and Cruz.
Both of them.
You've got Tyler Green, who was just called up, and Terrio on that bench. One ball, one strike on Jackson. The Cubs had the bases loaded early in this game. They had nobody out and scored just 1 run. That was in the 2nd inning. 2 balls and a strike. Patterson is on deck. That's why you have the lefty getting loose. You have back-to-back lefties with Patterson and Jay. So one way or another, barring a double play, this may be it for Garza. A 2-1 pitch on its way. Popped up and caught in foul territory by Pena. And that'll be it for Matt Garza. They'll go to the bullpen, and the lefty coming in. It's 4-1 St. Louis. Russell coming in when we come back to face Patterson. use StubHub, you'll find the seats you want and the freedom to choose where you'd like to sit. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Cardinals. Well, the Cubs go to their bullpen. They have 3 lefties, and if you got 3, why not use one here?
That's a luxury, certainly, to have 3 left-handers, and not just 3 bodies out there, but 3 good left-handers. And I think Sean Marshall's probably the best of the 3. Graybo is a veteran, but this guy's got some pretty good numbers, too. And we've seen him before, and he's going to face Ryan Theriot. Cardinals have had trouble in the leadoff spot. And I got this note from Rob Raines, who's been around Cardinal baseball for a long time. Since the All-Star break, the Cardinals leadoff batters have an on-base percentage of just 169. And that includes walks, hits, you name it. And Ryan Theriot has been part of that. He's been struggling. So Corey Patterson with the start tonight, trying to maybe jumpstart that #1 spot in the Cardinal order. Tried to bunt his first time up, ended up 0 for 3, and he gives way here to Theriot with a couple more runners out there.
So the former Cub, Ryan Theriot. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Theriot really needs something good to happen. He's been in a funk right now, as Rick mentioned. Get something positive. Why not do it against his former team right here? One pitch. Ground ball. That's a base hit. 1 run is in. Here comes Molina. Theriot on his way to second. He delivers. Ramirez couldn't come up with it. 2-run score.
Cardinals get another break here. That should be a base hit for Theriot, but that was a ball that I think Ramirez thought
to dive.
I think he thought it was hit harder. He started to dive, and then the ball actually spun closer to him and ate him up a little bit. That's going to be a base hit, but I think he overreacted. I think he thought the ball was hit harder and started to dive too soon. And then it was awkward when he tried to recover.
And here is John Jay.
You know, the corner infield positions, Dan, most of what you do is you react split second. You dive to your left or you dive to your right. That's what you do. You have to just be quick. Don't normally have time to move your feet, but certainly on that play he did.
John Jay. Cardinals strand 2. They add 3 more. They lead it by the score of 6-1 as we head to the 7th.
Cardinals on to the bottom of the 7th. Our home depot doing more on defense. And it's David Freese, Skip Schumacher, and a very close bang-bang play at first. Might have been safe, but a nice defensive play for the Cardinals to help Jackson. A couple of changes for the Cardinals. Ryan Theriot, big base hit in that 6th inning. He stays in to play second base. Descalso, the shortstop. Theriot, the second baseman. Skip Schumacher moves to right field, replacing Patterson.
Undoubtedly, one of the questions after this game for Tony La Russa will be up the middle right now. Descalso, Theriot.
Interesting.
Very much so.
We have seen numerous combinations up the middle this year.
Soriano with a high fly ball into right. Schumacher makes the catch.
And I'm pretty sure we haven't seen this combination yet, of Theriot at second and Descalso at short.
There's so many things that you could think about in this spot. The Cardinals looking to do something at shortstop. Put Theriot at second. Right now, does Descalso have the upper hand in their mind? I mean, there's a million things that you could think about here. Or maybe it's just as simple as saying,
he's been out there all night. Let's leave him there. Yeah, that's certainly, and I'll bet that's what Tony will say. And there may be more to it, there may not be. But I think that is a logical, very logical reason.
I think you also understand where I'm going with that, too.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of fans at home as well.
Well, I'm talking about the combinations. You know, Alan Craig's played some second base. You've had Tyler Green. You've had Pete Kozma. You've had Schumacher. You've had so many combinations up the middle for the Cardinals.
And there's a base hit into right. Tyler Coleman. Efficiency by inning for Edwin Jackson.
Other than the second inning, been pretty solid. Couple of hits, including a hit and a walk in that 5th inning, led to the 19-pitch inning there. But just 84 through 6. Again, I'd be an advocate of giving him the 7th here, let him have a great start, get him out. And I can only say that because I feel a little better about the bullpen right now than I did 3 days ago.
Sure. Here is Blake DeWitt. He'll be the pinch hitter.
Would you agree, Dan, that nothing gets fans more upset when you start to analyze the job that a manager does? They don't talk much about the hit and runs and the bunts, but it's when do you pull the starting pitcher that I think gets on the nerves of fans both ways. You either leave him in too long and get blasted for that, or you take him out too soon and you get blasted for that.
Walk called against Edwin Jackson. I'm with you, Rick, and I think the one thing that maybe more so than anything is Jackson may not come to a pause, but it looked like he did there. But dealing with closers, because the game is on the line, it's magnified for the final 3 outs. When does a closer come in? Who should he face? How many times has he worked this week? I mean, all those things come into play.
Well, they both come under the pitching decisions that a manager has to make.
Let's check out Schumacher here. From right field. Fires to the plate. It's a strike. And he got him. Oh, what a throw. What a throw from right field.
The Cubs don't run on Matt Holliday earlier, but they run on Skip Schumacher.
That's a cannon from right.
He's out. Nice tag. Nice throw. Never really touches the plate. And Jackson right on top of that. He notices that with this slide, he still hasn't touched home plate.
Wow, what a throw. Garza 5 2/3, 6 runs, 9 hits. Gave up the home run to Freese, a walk, an intentional walk, and 1 sacrifice. Here's Starlin Castro. It is fun to watch guys play defense like that.
I wonder if the Cubs thought, you know what, they won't even throw home. It's a 6-1 lead. They'll probably just take the safe route and not allow the hitter to get to second base, which he didn't, by the way, because the throw was low enough to have Albert cut it off if we needed to, so he's got to stay at first. So the Cardinals got the best end of that deal.
Rick, we talk about, and fans here say it all the time, the arm of Skip Schumacher. You may have forgotten because he's playing second base. That just reminded us how good it is.
No, that was fun. That's the way an outfielder should throw.
That is fun is right.
And here's the quick throw from Schumacher. He throws it. And 2.4 seconds later, Yadi's got it in his glove.
Rick just timed that up here in the booth.
Hard to outrun that baseball.
Here's the 0-2 to Castro to the backstop. The Cardinals looking ahead to the bottom of the 7th will have Albert Pujols, who is 1 hit shy of 2,000 for his career. But as we go to break, you're going to hear a huge ovation down the right field line for Skip Schumacher. One-two pitch by Jackson. Time is called. McClellan getting loose in the bullpen for St. Louis, and Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan basically saying that McClellan was off limits the last couple of nights from his previous start, so he's ready to go tonight. Here's a 1-2 pitch to Starlin Castro.
I do like the fact that Jackson, after giving up a hit, was in the right spot defensively, backing up home, and not only doing that, but also clearly yelling and communicating to Yadier Molina in case he didn't call the runner out that Colvin never touched home plate. He was actually paying attention, and again, it was a moot point because he was in fact out.
2-2. John Jay is there. Let's hear the ovation for Skip Schumacher. Game recap. It's been an entertaining ball game here at St. Louis's at Busch Stadium. Edwin Jackson, 7 innings, an earned run in his Cardinal debut. David Freese, 3-run homer. The Cardinals picked up the lead with that. And Yadier Molina, 1 for 3 with an RBI.
The Cubs team really struggling. They've lost 3 straight. Those games were against the Milwaukee Brewers. They only scored 4 runs in their 3 losses, and they only have 1 here against Edwin Jackson.
Seventh inning stretch, and some of the fans stay on their feet.
Right-hander is Ramon Ortiz.
Ramon Ortiz takes over. First pitch to Pujols. Here's the 0-1. Pujols out to left, sinking, and caught by Soriano. Now Matt Holliday.
Almost 2,000. Tim McCarver fan. That wasn't Tim, was it? I know he's here. We saw him earlier.
We had a brief chat with
did.
Tim.
Always great to see him. And a big Tim McCarver fan.
0-1 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. Just missed inside, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Holliday hits it out of play.
Unusual off-balance swing for Matt Holliday. You just don't see that cut very often. Think of him as a guy that has pretty good plate coverage in and out, and you wouldn't think of him as kind of having to reach for a pitch just to kind of put a bat on it. If anything, he's vulnerable to the pitch up in the zone. Sometimes he'll chase that, but not away.
And Holliday tonight with a single and a double. I'm with you. I don't think he's looked overly comfortable, though, the last week or so. We've seen him swing at more pitches and miss. Maybe that is part of it. Some of those swings is dealing with the instep. Not comfortable, fouling balls off.
He's the kind of hitter that if he's not hitting, you know, he's going to have a rough at bat. If he's hitting, it doesn't really matter who's pitching. So
and it's a walk.
He's not one of those guys that you want to credit too much that the other pitcher did well or didn't do well. I think Holliday basically controls his own destiny. That's how good he is.
Here's David Freese.
Yadier Molina studying the batting order that's posted. Lineup card in the Cardinal dugout. That's Joe Bettini's business right there. He will make sure that Tony is aware of what bench players are left.
Liner out to left, and the catch made by Soriano. Bravo getting loose in the pen for Chicago.
Skip's had a nice night offensively, a walk and a double, but most exciting thing he's done is that throw. Throwing out Tyler Colvin at the plate. Bang, bang play. Right on the money.
Up the middle, but back at Ortiz. So Schumacher retired, and we head to the 8th. Kyle McClellan coming in when we come back. Bud Light, it's the sure sign of a good time. Here we go. By Bank of America, where ATM deposits are as easy as an infield fly. No deposit slip, no envelope. With Bank of America, member FDIC. And by AT&T. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. We're at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. And the Cardinals have a 6-1 lead. Changes for the Cardinals. Archevy called to the bullpen. His second appearance out of the bullpen for Kyle McClellan. Remember the rain-shortened game that Batista started. Then McClellan came in. And Tyler Green just recalled as at shortstop. Descalso is over at third. Darwin Barney will be the hitter. And Rick, you've done this in your career when you were playing, going from bullpen to starter and back and forth. How tough of a transition is this?
It's only tough if you let it be tough. I think you have to play the mind game with yourself and say, look, it's just pitching. I'm really doing the same thing I did before, just different time of the game, different situation, but it's still pitching. And you try not to have it as an excuse. You know, as a player, Dan, if you have an excuse or you allow yourself to have an excuse, you're going in the wrong direction. You're going to use that at some deep level and not perform as well. You have to just eliminate the excuses. And there's so many you can have. You're tired. You're overworked. You're underworked. I mean, I just think that stuff gets overblown. And the more you believe it, it becomes kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Leadoff walk. 42,042 tonight. 42042. And here's Ramirez. What did you prefer, starting or relieving?
I actually like the challenge of doing both. I mean, I really do. I think there was a time where I just felt like I would create more value for myself and for my team if I could do both. And so I found the challenge of saying, I am not going to use anything as an excuse. I'm going to embrace this role, and I'm going to hear other people talk about, well, I don't want to do it, and because it's, I'm a starter, or I just took a different approach. Just thought, not being a top-notch player, not being a top starter or a closer, I needed to create value for my team and for myself.
Out to visit Molina. Cleveland backing away and just slowing things down a little bit. You have to wonder if he does feel a little tired right now after starting and now coming in relief. How about Ramirez? His night, it's been a tough one. Jackson a strikeout. Did it again in the third. Fifth inning. At the plate again. And a ground out to Pujols, so 0 for 3.
And he hasn't been very stellar defensively either.
No, he is not. Here's a 2-1 pitch. Ramirez with a fly ball to left. Holiday making the catch. Brings in Pena, who was walked, popped out, and struck out. Nice debut, Edwin Jackson tonight. 7 innings, 1 run. As you see the catch made by Holiday. Jackson allowed 7 base hits, couple of walks. He hit a man, 1 sacrifice, 95 pitches tonight. 66 were strikes for Edwin Jackson. This could be a double play. Off the glove, though, of Green. Base hit. Runners at first and second with 1 out. Pena aboard. And you talked about, Rick, how you embraced the role of being a guy in the bullpen or starting. I give Kyle a lot of credit, at least publicly, how he's handled this.
Oh, yeah,
we've heard internally he's been fine, too. But he said all the right things, even though everybody knows he wants to start. That's where his heart is. But if this is where he's best served for the club, he said, no problem, I'll do it.
He'll get his opportunities.
Here's 1 out. And a ground ball foul by Marlon Byrd. Cardinals with good work from Zepchinski last night, the lefty who made his debut with 2 scoreless innings, and Octavio Dotel.
Ramirez with a 27-game hitting streak on the line against the Cardinals. He's 0 for 4. I'd like to have one more at bat tonight.
Fly ball out to right, going back. Schumacher over his head, ground rule double, and a run was scored.
This ball carries very well the other way. It's a pitch middle in. Byrd hits the ball very solidly the other way. Schumacher gives it a run, but middle of the warning track. And maybe a break for the Cardinals that it bounces over that right field wall.
Jason Mott will get loose quickly. A 6-2 lead for the Cardinals, but 2 runners on, 1 out. That'll be it for McClellan. 2.25 ERA. McClellan was not sharp. 3 full days of rest. This would have been his 4th day. And Tony La Russa using him in that spot coming out of the bullpen, but did not look comfortable.
Yeah, you thought maybe 3 days would be enough. It would be a little bit even beyond his normal bullpen day. And, you know, it's kind of like starting on 3 days rest, which, you know, some pitchers struggle with. But, you know, clearly it didn't work. His stuff was not very good tonight. He did not have command right out of the chute. And then once he started to get over the plate with his pitches, they hit a couple of balls very hard.
Right-hander getting loose in the bullpen right now for St. Louis. Mott to Giovanni Soto for a strike. 1 out, runners at second and third. Outfield is straight away. Soto has been hit by a pitch. He's grounded out and also popped out.
Roles starting to define themselves a little bit in the Cardinal bullpen. Jason Mott has become kind of the guys on base, strikeout pitcher, 6th, 7th inning. That's really what we've seen him. We're seeing him here in the 8th now, but kind of been the guy that you're using to try to get the strikeout.
1-1 pitch.
Still not sure about the 8th inning guy. If you have to have a clean 8th with a 1-run lead, don't know who that is right now. '97, barely on the corner.
On 1-2 in the dirt. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Nice pick by Yadi. Talk about the soft hands of Yadier Molina.
Sometimes you just have to make a quick reaction when you got a pitcher like Jason Mott throwing as hard as he does. And again, with the location, you're a little bit more on your heels if you're Yadier Molina catching Jason Mott, because he's not always going to hit his spot. So you better be ready for anything.
And a swing and a miss. Blew it right by him. 98 on the gun here at the ballpark. That's what you're talking about. Coming in and getting that kind of strikeout as Salas is getting loose in the pen.
Really hard to catch up with a fastball 98 that's letter high.
Harrison Whitaker helping us tonight. Broadcast in the truck with replays.
He just had a birthday. Did Harrison Whitaker a couple of days ago.
No balls and a strike. Alfonso Soriano, 15 home runs. Majority of those were hit in the first month and a half. And talk that they'd love to move Ramirez, Soriano, Pena. But can they do it? Is there a taker? Off the end of the bat into center. John Jay, yes, makes the catch. Takes a hit and RBIs away. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Carlos Marmol, 2-3 with 19 saves this year. Held the opponent scoreless in 40 of 47 outings, but he's had 9 walks in his last 7 outings with a 12 ERA in his last 8 relief appearances.
Seen him a couple of times where he's really struggled to throw strikes, and he's a guy that can be just absolutely overpowering when he's on. His slider is really unhittable. And the strikeouts usually mount up when Carlos Marmol comes in. Not a typical game for him, but I think they're just trying to get him right. Mike Quade is the manager for the Cubs, and think about all the optimism that this team had coming into the season. They finished 24-13 under Quade last year,
right.
And you think, okay, we got something going. Colvin's a good young player. Soto, who was injured, might get back to his form that he had as a rookie player, and just things have just, well, they just haven't been very good for him all year long. Pitching hasn't been good. Bullpen's been shaky. Their defense is horrible.
One of the emails we got was from Kelly in Cuba, Missouri. It says, guys, you're missing out on the big chair.
We're going.
Kelly in Cuba, Missouri, writing us about the chair. Molina with a high fly ball. Left center. And this ball stays in the ballpark, and it's a double for Yachty. Next home run for Molina will be a career high. He's tied his career high with 8.
Jumps on the first pitch. You might as well do that with Marmol. Don't let him get ahead. That's just a straight fastball. When's the last time you saw him throw a pitch straight?
Yeah.
That's odd. And he may be trying to make a mechanical adjustment, maybe just throwing the ball straighter.
Liner to right. Catch is made. Molina will tag up. In safely.
That's 2 pitches and 2 bullets. Alertly tagging. Tell you, when things aren't going well, Aramis Ramirez seems as disinterested with his body language of any player I've ever seen. I mean, he just seems to be kind of just out there.
Remember when he was with the Pirates? There was talk about that body language, and not impressive.
I'm all for being relaxed, because this is a relaxed game. You can't play this game uptight, but you can go too far with it.
Here's a 1-0 pitch. The mystery that is Tyler Green at the plate. Marmol, 13 games, .60 ERA, and this is also a mystery in July. ERA of 9.
You say Tyler Green is a mystery because every time he goes to AAA, he hits .320. He's batting 3rd, 4th, and 5th in the lineup down in Memphis. One of the best players down there. Good hands, good speed, good power. And yet when he comes to the big leagues, just does not produce the same way or even close to it.
Here's a 3-1 pitch. What you're talking about, Rick, is the combination of all those different things. Speed, power, big body at shortstop, good range. We saw him get to that ball up the middle with McClellan on the mound.
Talk about an All-American in college, one of the best players in the college ranks at that time, a high-round draft choice, kind of a can't-miss guy. So, I mean, clearly there's talent there. Very likable player, too. Just like to see him get to that next level.
Runner goes, and a throw to second into center field. A run will score. Green on his way to third. Important run in the fact now that you're up by 5 runs.
Tyler Green, good speed, looks in, and there's the Cubs defense at work. Sloppy defense. Cardinals running with a 4-run lead in the 8th inning.
Infield is drawn in, which may surprise some, but you get to 5 and grand slam can't tie it up.
I don't think the Cubs will fault the Cardinals for that.
Interesting here that they would have the infield in down by 5. Terrio left center. This is trouble. That ball will get down. Green will score. Terrio on his way to second base. Very close play here at second base. You've got Pujols on deck. A lot of fans have stuck around to see if they can watch a little bit of history tonight. 1 hit away of 2000 in his career.
2 doubles for Ryan Terrio off the bench against his former team.
That catches the outside corner. John Jay. A couple of singles tonight. Twice he has grounded out to second. 8-2 St. Louis behind 11 hits.
Not even sure I'm seeing the same velocity from Marmol that I'm used to seeing. You know, at some point, you're the Cubs, you might want to give him a few days off. He's been a workhorse. He's been really a top reliever for them. But where you are in the standings at this point, I think there's some players that when they're struggling, you got to just put them on kind of the, you know, the mental two-week disabled list to give them time to just regroup.
It's been done so many times before. There's a lot of people in retrospect wonder if that would have been the best thing for Franklin.
Agreed.
Earlier this year. In steps Pujols.
Albert Pujols.
Raybo, the lefty, getting loose in the bullpen, but no one worried about that right now. Cardinals in control of this game, 8-2. Soto out to visit with Marmol. And Albert Pujols 1 hit shy of 2,000. Flash bulbs popping all over the ballpark. One-0 pitch to Pujols. 1 ball, 1 strike. Always wondered about the concentration of guys like Pujols, McGuire, Sosa, when those flash bulbs would be popping. They are all over the place tonight. The 1-1. Pujols rips it fair. Hit number 2,000 down into the corner. And with this double, Pujols joins Stan the Man, Brock, Hornsby, and Slaughter as Cardinals with 2,000 hits.
What a great moment. Albert Pujols recognizing the moment, and all the fans here who stayed for that last at-bat, they knew what was going on as well. Congratulations, Albert.
$2,000 hits for Albert Pujols. Here's Tony Cruz. The question now becomes, where will he end up as far as how many hits, how many home runs, the RBIs. Pitch is popped up, but this night belongs to the Cardinals, and Albert Pujols with hit number 2,000. Go. And here it was, the double down the third base line and into the corner. Hit number 2,000. And a tip of the cap for number 5. Dotel, Cruz, Schumacher, All kinds of changes right now for the Cardinals. Dotel is your pitcher. Cruz is in right field. Schumacher moves to left.
Dotel had a scoreless inning last night. Nice job by Jason Mott putting out the fire in the 8th inning. Just 2 Cub runs on 9 hits. They just have not put it together, and the Cardinals have.
We've got to go to this chair. I've got a email from Sean in Indian Hills Lake, which is near Cuba or in Cuba. Sean in Indian Hills Lake, and he says, guys, you have to make it to see the chair. We've had Pujols, we've had a debut tonight, but the thing I'll always take away from this telecast is the chair.
I'm going. Sign me up.
We're off tomorrow. We're off Sunday for our duties. Get the camper ready. There's Pujols on a backhanded play, a race to the bag, and Dotel is there to get Tyler Coleman. Coming up, it's Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live. Pat Paris and Al Raboski standing by for our post-game activities.
And there'll be a lot to cover in the post-game show. Certainly the celebration of Albert and hit number 2,000. 2 doubles in this game for Albert. Not only is he picking up hits, he's picking up hits with authority. At one point in the season, Dan, and I'm talking about maybe a quarter of the way in, not a small sample, Daniel Descalzo had more extra base hits than Albert Pujols, more doubles. And Albert is starting to change that.
Here's Reed Johnson.
Something about a victory that unites a team, especially when you've got a team of some new players. So Dotel out on the mound now is going to get a chance, assuming all goes well, to shake hands with players after a victory. You're going to go and congratulate your starting pitcher, who's a new player. Your lefty reliever Zipchinski feels like he's already a part of the team. He contributed last night. Corey Patterson started in this game. There's something about the bonding that takes place when you get your first win together that I think we'll experience after this ballgame. Some bonding going on right there.
1-2 here on Reed Johnson. Got him. Strikeout for Dotel. Our player of the game, no surprise here. Albert Pujols, 2,000th career hit just moments ago. Brought to you by Budweiser, our player of the game. Last 6 players reaching their 2,000th career hit while with St. Louis. Before Albert, O'Neill, Gaetti, McGee, Smith, Torrey, Brock. It was Musial, Brock, Hornsby, Slaughter that had 2,000 or more hits wearing that uniform. Edwin Jackson made the start. Very impressive tonight. And they're on their feet here at Busch Stadium with 2 outs and nobody on. Starlin Castro, the hitter.
Pretty old school. Not only did he make the start, but he's back out in the dugout.
I like it.
The rule is you have to stay in the dugout until your runners have either scored or not. and you get through that half inning. Then you can go in and ice your arm and do all that stuff you need to do. But he's out. He wants to feel this victory.
Ended with a strikeout. The Cardinals have taken game one. Convincing fashion. 9-2 tonight as Pujols picks up hit number 2,000 in his remarkable career.
David Freese was a hero in this game as well. He had a 3-run home run in the 4th inning. Bad defense by the Chicago Cubs. Good pitching from the Cardinals. Congratulations to Edwin Jackson, 1-0 as a Cardinal.
Hit number 2,000 for Albert Pujols just moments ago. A double against the Chicago Cubs. Over 42,000 here tonight to witness it. And a 9-2 victory for St. Louis. Postgame show comes your way next.